welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well out there. And since Halloween is just a few short days away, we're going to head back to Haddonfield, Illinois and check in on Laurie Strode, Michael Myers, and Dr. Samuel Loomis. But before we take that trip, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here. I greatly would appreciate that. Now, the movie we're going to talk about today in the Halloween franchise, I have reviewed a long time ago, but each year I've decided I'm going to do re-review one entry in the Halloween franchise, and there's one left I have to do before we move on to a different one next year, and that one is the original Halloween 2. Yes, Halloween 2 came out October 30th of 1981. It's rated R just like the original film. It's an hour and 32 minutes long. Had a budget of $2.5 million, which was considerably larger than the original film, and upon release it made $25.5 million upon release. Did really, really well, made a lot of money. Not as much as the original film, but still was a nice size hit. Now, if you've ever seen interviews with Carpenter over the years, he said many times that him and Deborah Hill did not see a sequel past the original Halloween. They had no intentions for a sequel to the original classic Halloween. But there was a little bit of a tussle between Irwin Yablans and Carpenter. Carpenter and Yablans had spoken about doing The Fog together. That was Carpenter's next big film after Halloween. And here Carpenter ended up signing a 2-picture deal with Avco Embassy to do either The Fog and Escape from New York, which were very nice size hits for Avco Embassy. And Yablans was pissed. So Carpenter made a deal to come back. He had no interest in directing Halloween 2. He didn't want to come back at all, but they gave him a nice paycheck. He came back and co-wrote the script with Deborah Hill, scored the film, and produced the film, and actually did additional shooting of footage for the film, and we'll talk about that later as we get through this review. Now, instead of Carpenter directing this film, they brought in Rick Rosenthal. He was a filmmaker they were aware of, so they brought him in to do the film. Dean Cundey came back to do the cinematography. This film looks just like pretty much the same crew as the original film, almost. So this film looks very much in the same universe, direct sequel, and as we know, this is a direct sequel to the original film. We'll talk about it in a second. In the cast, we have Jamie Lee Curtis coming back as Laurie Strode. Now, she had gone off and done some other horror films before. She did The Fog, Prom Night, Terror Train before she came back to do this film. Donald Pleasence is back as Dr. Sam Loomis, who is still on the hunt for Michael Myers. Lance Guest is a newbie to this universe. He plays Jimmy, the ambulance driver who knows Laurie Strode. And Dick Warlock came in to play the Shape or Michael Myers in this film. Nick Castle wasn't available. He was off trying to start his directing career. But Dick Warlock, who was the stuntman for Carpenter, came in and played the Shape for this sequel. Halloween 2, as you know if you've seen it, or a fan of this franchise, picks up right at the end of Halloween, the original Halloween. We see Jamie Lee Curtis battling Michael Myers. Loomis comes up, shoots Michael 7 times, not 6. Rich, that's for you. If you count it, they messed up on that. It's 7 shots instead of 6. Michael falls off the balcony, just like the first film, although it was a reshoot. Loomis looks over the edge. He's gone. He goes down. He feels blood. And that's when he gives that line to that neighbor. You don't know what death is. And then we get that great credit sequence with the upped score by Alan Howarth and John Carpenter. I love the score to the second film just as much as I love the score to the first film. I think it's it goes a little harder than the first film. And I do like what they've done with the score for this film. Michael's on the loose. We see him killing a random girl before finding out they took Laurie Strode to the clinic. He makes a beeline to the hospital. Kills a bunch of staff, nurses, ambulance drivers, anybody who's around, security guards. And then we get the final showdown between Laurie Strode, Sam Loomis, and Michael in that surgery room. Laurie shoots him in the eyes, which is a great visual. And then Dr. Loomis blows Michael up. And we see the mask burning. That cool shot of Michael coming down the hallway on fire. Collapses. We see the mask burning. And then we see them taking Laurie away. Although in the TV cut, you would see Lance Guest, Jimmy in the ambulance with her. But in the theatrical cut, it was just her in the back of the ambulance. And that's the end of Halloween 2, which was meant to be the final nail in the coffin of Michael Myers. And as you would know, the next sequel, Carpenter and Hill agreed to come back if they could do an anthology film. Their idea was to do a different Halloween film every year, doing a different subject just based around the holiday of Halloween, which I love Halloween 3. But unfortunately, we know that film didn't do a whole lot. Didn't do very well. Didn't make some money, not very well. And then in '88, they brought Michael back to the big screen in Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. What to like about this film? Well, the cast. I like the new cast. I like the returning cast, although Jamie Lee Curtis is sidelined in the hospital bed for most of the film. She doesn't have a whole lot to do until the last 15 minutes of the film. Does it remind you of Halloween Kills a little bit? Although in Halloween Kills, she's a lot more to say. All that bullshit dialogue in the hospital room. Although I do like Halloween Kills, but some of the stuff that Laurie says in that movie is just utterly ridiculous. Nobody talks like that. But in this film, she is sidelined for most of the movie to a hospital bed. And I know that's a big point of contention for a lot of folks. I like Dick Warlock as Michael Myers. He is like the Terminator version of Michael Myers. And the kills are bloodier, and we'll talk about that in a second, why they were bloodier. Because a lot had happened since 78 when the original Halloween got released. So I think the cast is good. I like the story. I like the continuation of the same night. We are on the same night. I like when movies do that. They did it in Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills. I like that they did it here. I like the hospital setting. It's creepy. It's the dark, dimly lit hallways, Michael walking down or popping out from different areas, and you can see him in the background walking and going somewhere else. I like all that. The stalking scenes are very, very cool. The kills are amped up. They're more bloody. I love the ending. I love that the image of his eyes bleeding after Laurie shoots him. Laurie leaves so Loomis can blow him up. And that shot of Michael walking down the hallway on fire and then collapsing to that final shot of Michael anyway, burning. I love all that. I love it. And honestly, if they would have ended the franchise here, at least the Michael story, they nailed it. They stuck the landing. Is this movie perfect? No, I mean, there are some problems, Laurie being sidelined for most of the movie, and we're introduced to a bunch of new characters, which we don't really get to know all that well. Jimmy's probably the one we get to know the most, him and Bud with their interactions. The nurses, no, we don't really get to know them all that well. They're just there for the fodder. They're fine, but they don't really have a whole lot to do other than to be there and then get killed by Michael at some point. I love the hypodermic needle kill when she goes in to look for Dr. Mixter, and Michael pops out of the shadows like he did in the first film and sticks the needle in. I love all that. That's cool as hell. The score is awesome by Carpenter and Alan Howarth. Again, negative-wise, is the movie as good as the first film? No, I don't think. It's not as pure. And then it introduced the Michael is Laurie's brother angle, which Carpenter hated, even though he wrote it. Carpenter's famous for saying, 6-pack of beer a night's what got him through that script. And he only made them brother and sister because he had nothing else to write. He didn't know where to go with the frickin' story because it was basically the same movie all over again. And Carpenter really only did it for the paycheck, honestly. And so it's amazing this movie turned out as well as it did, considering Carpenter's heart wasn't in it. He tried to do the best he could, but honestly, he never saw a sequel past the original film. And so I think this film turns out a lot better than it had any right to. And I think that has to do with the same crew coming back. Dean Cundy's beautiful cinematography. The effects come off really, really well. And Michael is still very effective, although he looks a little shorter because Dick Warlock is shorter than Nick Castle. The mask is still the same. I know it looks different, but the mask is the same mask from the original film. It's just during the original film shooting, Nick Castle used to carry it around in his back pocket, and it stayed for a couple years. It was under Deborah Hill's bed until they decided to make this film, and she drug it out, and that's why the mask looks a little different than it did in the original film. Overall, I like this film. I think it's a damn fine sequel, and one of our in terms of the big horror franchise, it's one of the best sequels out there. I think, in my opinion, my humble opinion. Now, famously, like I said, Carpenter didn't want to come back. He was kind of forced into it, though. He did get a big payday for it. So they hired Rick Rosenthal, who had done a short film that they liked, so they hired him to do the film. Carpenter watched his first cut and was not impressed at all. Now, a couple things had happened since the original Halloween had dropped. Friday the 13th came out, which was way more violent, way more bloody than the original Halloween, because there's hardly any blood in the original Halloween. And other films had come out. So the demands in the marketplace had changed. Rick Rosenthal, according to Carpenter, had made a very tame movie. And according to Rick Rosenthal, he was trying to ape Carpenter's original, stay with more suspense and not rely on blood. But Carpenter has also said that version was kind of boring. So he went back and shot all the bloody kills. That was all Carpenter going back and reshooting or pickup shots and trying to beef up the film. He felt compelled to do that, again, due to the demands of the marketplace. That's why Halloween 2 is much bloodier than Halloween 1. More meaner than Halloween 1, if you think about it, really, in terms of the way Michael is. I mean, Michael's like the Terminator in this film, obviously. So yeah, Carpenter did go back and he re-edited the film as well. He felt like he had to. I mean, it was resting on his shoulders because he came back as a producer. So he felt he owed at least Universal the best film they could get out of what they had. So he did all that, did reshoots, and then re-edited the film. Carpenter has also said in interviews that he wasn't happy that he had to do that. He said because he wouldn't want that done to him. but he felt like he owed the investors of the film the best chance of making money back, so he did what he thought was right. Still it didn't set well with him. It still doesn't, but he thought when he was done, at least the movie it breezed by a little better and it moved a little better and it was a little bit more exciting than Rick Rosenthal's original version. At the end of the day, this is a damn fine sequel. It's better than it has any right to ever be, and it's one of my favorite Halloween entries. And I would give Halloween 2, 1981, an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 for Halloween 2. What are your opinions on this one? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Let me know what you would rate this one. Where does it rank in your Halloween franchise favorites? Is this one of your favorite ones? Let me know that. I'd greatly appreciate that. Halloween's a few days away. I am going to, for my big Halloween review, which will drop on Wednesday, I am going to review for the 40th anniversary, Wes Craven's classic, A Nightmare on Elm Street. I have the 4K downstairs. I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to do a nice little review for Halloween. That'll be my big Halloween review. But until then, bye.